Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to today's webinar. Thank you for providing answers in the chat. I'm happy to see that you have some use cases that you could use Infogram for. That is great. And today you are in the right place if you'd like to learn more about maps that Infogram has to offer. So basically, we're going to touch upon all of the functions that our maps have to offer. As you can see on the screen, my name is Yanis, and I'm going to be your webinar host today. You can also see my email on the screen, so if you want to reach out to me with some questions about our tool, feel free to do that after the webinar. And before we get going with today's content, I've prepared a short agenda that you can also see on the screen. So first, I'm going to give you a quick overview of Infogram's maps. I'm going to show you their settings and how you can tweak your maps in different ways. After that, we're going to start creating our own maps, and I'm going to show you how you can download the maps that you've created and how you can then reuse them in other software, for example. After that, we're going to publish an interactive map. I'm going to show you how you can also create GIFs out of your maps and how you can then share those on social networks. After that, we're going to touch upon a really neat feature, which is the live data updates feature. So basically, you can use maps to visualize current events, like the results of elections taking place in your country, for example. After that, we're going to move on to some of the more interactive features. For example, you can also add links to your maps, so to generate leads or to provide additional information on the things that you visualized on the map. So I'm going to show you how you can add links to the maps that you create. And towards the end, I will also touch upon the feature to upload custom maps to Infogram. So you can also upload your own maps if you're a subscriber of the enterprise plan. And as you can see at the end, there's some time dedicated for a Q&A session, but if you have some questions during the webinar, feel free to type those in the chat. If I'll be able to answer them straight away, I'll do that. If not, I will answer those at the end of today's webinar. And yeah, thank you for providing the answers in the chat. I think maps are also fitting in nicely into those use cases that you've mentioned there. So hopefully this will be useful for you. And today's webinar is going to take around 40 minutes. And if you stick until the end with me, I'm going to provide you with the option to have a free trial of the Infogram team plan. But let me get back to that at the end of the webinar, and let's get going with today's content. So for that, let me go into the Infogram library. So once you log into your Infogram account, this is the view that you're going to see. So of course, here with these thumbnails, you're going to see your own projects, but the top part and the part on the left will be the same for you. I don't want to go into too much detail about the library now because the main focus today is on maps. And for that, let's create a new project. So you just have to click on one of these shortcuts at the top of the page. For example, let's create a slide project, a blank one. Let's not even name it. And so now we have our canvas here. So imagine you're creating a project, and if you want to add something, you have to go to the toolbar on the left where you will see the option to add map. So I'm not sure how familiar all of you are with Infogram, but if you want to add some content, you basically do it here on the left. So as you can see, as I click on the different icons, we get various options. And also, if we click on Add Map, we get access to almost 900 different maps. Let me just mention that if you're a free user, you're going to have access to 13 maps, but perfectly fine maps, and you can use them in many different ways. If you're a paid subscriber, you get access to almost 900 maps. I see that one of the viewers is saying that she can barely hear me. Maybe anyone else of you, could you please confirm that you can hear me fine? Hopefully everything's fine with my audio. If you could confirm that, that would be great. Okay, thank you. Okay, I guess that there's a problem on the viewer's end. All right, thank you. Thank you for confirming that. Let's get going. Further on, so we have now clicked on Add Map. So this is where we can access all of the maps available in Infogram. Excuse me. And if you want to search for something specific, you can use the search bar here. So Infogram has maps of different cities, countries, regions, parts of the world. So for example, if we want to look for a specific city, we can do that. Let's look for Madrid, for example. And there we have a map of Madrid that we could use. Then let's look for some specific countries, like let's say Finland, for example, and then we get actually 6 different maps of Finland because we have some users there, and hence the fact that there's more maps. Also, if you're in the US, for example, you might want to look for specific states, like let's say California, and then we can access the map of California. For example, for now, let's just add a map of France. If you want to add a map, you can hover over it and select Insert, or just drag and drop it wherever you want on the canvas. Then let's resize it a bit so that you can see it better. You can easily resize by dragging one of the corners or sides in or out. And now here we have our map of France that we added. And actually, I'd like to show you how you can customize the maps that you add. So for that, you just have to select the map on the canvas, and the customization options will be available in the settings panel on the right side of the page. So for example, the first tab that we have here is the Map Properties tab. And let me jump straight into the different map types and styles that you can use in Infogram. So if you click on the drop down under Map Type, you're going to see that it's possible to select between an area map and an icon map. So every map that you add to the canvas is going to be an area map by default. So this is great for comparing data between different regions, or in this case, regions of France. Same would go with states of the US, or if we would have a map of Europe, the areas would be the different countries of Europe. But you can also use the icon map, and if we select that, we can now see that there are some icons added on top of every region. And let me open the spreadsheet of the map. To access the spreadsheet, you can double click on the map, or you can click on Edit Data here in the top right corner. And there we can see the placeholder data that we have there. So all of our maps, all of the maps that you add to the canvas will have some placeholders so that they already have some visualizations once you add them. But you can, of course, delete this and add your own data. But regarding the icon map, so now we can see that we have these regions and they're displayed as icons on the map, but you can actually pinpoint specific locations when you're using the icon map. So for example, if you want to point out a city on your map. So for example, we can look for Lyon, a city in the south of France, and there we have it with its specific coordinates. You can also add postal codes, street addresses, even landmarks. So let me just look for the Eiffel Tower, if it's going to be visible on the map. And there we have it in Paris with its specific coordinates. So as you can see, you can just type in the names of your locations and they will be visualized on the icon map. Otherwise, you can also copy and paste specific coordinates here in the fourth column, and they will also be visualized on the map. Okay, let me just use the undo option and go back to the area map. There we have it. And if we go back into map properties, I also want to show you the different styles of maps that you can use. So currently we've selected the heat map. Once you add a map to the canvas, it's going to be a heat map by default. And with the heat map, it assigns a hot and a cold color to your values. So if we go into the spreadsheet, you can see that here it uses the second column, which is called the value column. And the higher the value, in this case, the darker the shade of green. And as we move around along the legend, you can see how different areas are highlighted. So you can, of course, change the colors to your liking. This is just the color of this specific palette. Also, under map properties, we can select the individual style. And now you can see that each individual area has been assigned a specific color. And you can use this to, for example, highlight specific locations on the map. So let's do just that. For example, let's add the red color to this specific region, and if we want to highlight it like that, we can. And also we have the group style, and if we select that, we can see that here it also uses the third column of the spreadsheet, which is called the grouped column. And here you can add your own groups. For example, let's do just that. Let's rename these, and let's just create two groups. And now you can see that the map is split in two with these groups. So this could be useful if you're, for example, displaying election results, let's say, on your map. All right, there we have it. Now let me go back to the individual style, and actually let's just delete all of this. And I just wanted to show you how you can add, for example, specific regions, like let's add Brittany, and next to it, let's add Normandy. So just as easy as that. Now we have only two regions displayed on the map. And if we go into map properties, I did this because I wanted to show you the option to auto zoom. So here you can see that it's possible to toggle on the auto zoom option. And if we toggle it on, we zoom in on that specific location of the map that we're using. So if we toggle it off, we can see the whole map again. Then below it, we can enable the labels. We can, of course, make them larger if we need to. We can hide the missing areas if we don't need them. So now if we zoom out, you're going to see that only the two regions in our spreadsheet are visualized. We can also use a tile layer. So this sort of adds a more natural look to the map, and there's 8 different tile layers that you can switch between, and yeah, some other options there as well. The next thing that I want to touch upon is the color options that you can use. So of course you can change the colors of your areas that you're visualizing, just as easy as that. Then we have the value tab. We're going to touch upon that a bit later when creating a map. And the fonts tab, you can change the font size, font color, and the font itself for your map. And if you click on advanced settings, then you can tweak specific items of your map. So for example, since we added the labels here on top, we could make the labels larger like that without changing anything else. And let's also make them bold and italicize them like that. Then we have the legend tab. So basically we can enable it or disable it and choose where it's positioned on the map. Then we have the tooltips tab. So the tooltips are these bits of information that appear when hovering over the map. I would encourage you to use these if you're sharing your map online, for example. Then we have the data format tab, where we can format the data of our map. And last but not least, we have the accessibility tab, and here we can add a label and a description to our map. And then the viewers of yours who would be using screen readers, the screen reader would read out the information that you've included here, so you can make your content more accessible to everyone by adding a label and a description here. So that was a really quick overview of the customization options. Just remember, if you want to add a map, you have to go to Add Map on the left of the page, and then you can use the search bar to look for something specific. Then just drag and drop it onto the canvas, and then you can customize your map and all of the other objects in the settings panel on the right of the editor. All right, but the next thing I want to touch upon is how you can download and reuse your maps. And to do that, we're going to have to create a map first. So here I already started a project. I'm going to be visualizing unemployment rates. And for this, I'm going to be needing a map of the United States. Let's just drag and drop it onto the canvas, and then let me resize it a bit. Just like that. Here at the bottom, you can see that I've already added a link to the source that I'm using for my data. So this is considered a good practice when visualizing data. If you have the opportunity to do that, I would encourage you to always provide a link to the source of your data. And now we touched upon the customization options, but of course we also need to add some data. So if we go into the spreadsheet, you can of course add your data by typing in typing it in manually in the cells, just as easy as that, and the information will appear on the project. You can also upload files. So here it's possible to upload Excel and CSV files. We're going to do that in a bit. It's also possible to connect to your Google Drive account. We will also do that a bit later. But also let me mention that it's possible to use files from your Dropbox. You can also add JSON feeds for live data updates, and it's also possible to connect to one of these 5 online databases and also source your data from that database for live data updates. But now let me just simply copy and paste some information. So let's delete all of this as we don't need it. And here in the spreadsheet, I have the information. So you can easily copy and paste your indicators if you'd like to do that. And now we can see that the indicators are visible on the map as I hover over it. Actually, first, let me change the color a bit because I want to make it easier to see the differences in the unemployment rates, so we can make it a bit darker like so. Okay, I think now it looks better. And also, as I'm hovering over the map, you might notice that the indicators are displayed 2 times, and that is because I've added some additional text here. So you can see that there are 5 text columns where you can add some text that you'd like, and that's going to be visualized in the tooltips. But the values are automatically displayed in the tooltips. So we just have to go to the tooltips tab, and here we can disable the option to show values, and now only the text that we've added will be displayed. All right, another thing that I'd like to do is add some information here in the legend of this map. So for that, we just have to go to the legend tab. And for the title, actually, let me just copy the title of this project here. Let's paste it here. And let's also add that this is percentage of population. So, and then the low value label could just be lower and high could be higher, just as simple as that. But the text is pretty small. So if we go into the fonts tab, let's go to the advanced settings, and here under legend, let's make it a bit larger, and let's also italicize it like that. Okay, so now here we have our indicators. I think I've added everything that I wanted. I think I've made all the changes that I needed. And now let's say we're ready to download our map. And to download your maps and your projects in general, you can do that from the editor. You just have to click on the download button here in the top right corner of the page. And once we do that, we get taken into the download page where we have a bunch of options to select from at the top. So here are 3 static versions, so PNG, JPEG, and PDF. With the PNG and PDF option, you can also download your map with a transparent background. Then our enterprise users have the option to download projects as HTML zip files. And there's also a cool option to download your files as animated GIFs and as MP4 videos. So if we would have several tabs, this could come in really handy. But now let me just download this as a PDF, since the PDF file is of the highest quality if you're downloading something. And let's use a transparent background. Let me download it. Shouldn't take too long. And now, for example, let's go into Prezi. So you might have heard about Prezi, this presentation tool, and also a video tool. And basically, you can also visualize data there. I'm mentioning this because Infogram is part of Prezi. And let's say we'd like to reuse the map that we just downloaded in a presentation. So then we can just drop it onto our presentation. And the main thing why I want to show you this is that you can use the transparent background, which is awesome when downloading your indicators. And you can also have really crisp quality for your maps. As you can see, as we zoom in, it's really nice and smooth. So yeah, just as easy as that, you can reuse your maps in other mediums as well. For example, if you're using PowerPoint, you can use it there as well. All right, the next thing I want to mention is how you can publish interactive and animated maps. And for that, let me go back to the library and actually let's create a duplicate of this project. And to do that, you just have to hover over a thumbnail in the library and there you will see the option to create duplicate. So now we can just rename the file. Is that okay? And let me use an Excel file for the data here. So I can just click on upload file. Then I can select the one that I want to use. Here it is. Click on open. And there we have all of our indicators. And actually here, there's tons of them. As you can see, there's 20 different spreadsheets in the Excel file that I just used. But let me just quickly change the legend a bit so that it matches the data that we're visualizing. Okay, and also the title. Okay, there we have it. And now as I click through the map, we can see that the indicators are changing, but what I don't like is that the values are also changing here in the legend. And to change that, we can just go into the value range under value, and there we can set a minimum and maximum range for the values of our map. And now they're going to be the same for all tabs. And also here we can tweak the heat map spectrum if we'd like that. And now as we click through, we can really nicely see the changes throughout the years in our indicators. And regarding sharing your map online. So for that, we just have to click on share next to the download button. And here there's a lot of options. So if you're a paid subscriber, you can keep all of your projects private and then enable private links for viewing. Otherwise, you can also keep them public. Here you're going to see that it's possible to share projects straight into various social platforms. There's also the embed option. So you can actually embed your maps into your website, for example. There's 5 different embed codes that you can access here. Let me just show you an example. So here, Polygon.com has used a map. Actually, it's also a map of the United States, like the one we are currently using. And so here also with when we're using the embed option, the map also has its interactivity. So if we click on the legend or hover over the legend, you can see that it's adapting. And this is actually used in an article like that. All right, and I see there's a question whether we can animate the map. And yeah, thank you for that question. If you want to add animations to your content, you just have to select your object on the canvas, and then you can see add animation in the settings panel on the right. So then you can use various animations, but I'm not going to go into too much detail about that now. You can explore it there. Just remember that that option is available in the settings panel as well. And also here, basically, I want to show you the embed codes. We've done that. And another option that I wanted to show you, all right, sorry for jumping back and forth. I wanted to show you how you can also share your map on this Infogram view page. So here it also has its interactivity. If you don't want to embed it, you can share this link to the view page for all of your projects. But before I mention that, we can also create GIFs and videos from our maps. And let me do just that. Since we have so many tabs, this could be a perfect use case for creating a GIF. And for that, we can just right-click on a map. Then we can go to Export As, and here you can see PNG, JPEG, PDF, animated GIF, and MP4 video. Then let's click on animated GIF. We're not going to wait for that now because there's so much data, and it could take a while. Let me just, for example, show you how you can easily do this on Twitter. So here we can provide the name of our project. Then we could also add a link for additional insights. And then let me just find the GIF that I already downloaded before. Here I have it. Let's just drag and drop it there. And let's tweet this. And there you have it. So now you have this cool GIF here with the indicators being displayed, and your viewers can also click on that link and go into the view page and click through all of the data themselves. Or for example, you could provide a link to your website, to a specific article if you'd like to. Well, the possibilities, of course, are endless. So that's how you can share a GIF file. Another thing I want to touch upon is how you can use live data maps for displaying current events. And let's say that there's an election going on. Actually, soon there will be an election in my home country, so that's why I'm going to be using actually, let's rename this to 2021. I'm going to be using a map of Latvia, which is where I'm based at. So here we have it, and let's resize it a bit. So here I've already added some charts before, actually just the one chart, so sort of going for a dashboard look. So let's say that the previous election results are displayed here, and then we want to provide live results on the election day in our map. So let's say you're embedding this on your website, and for that we can connect to a Google Drive document. So before doing that, let me just change this map to a grouped style map. There we have it. And as I mentioned before, it's possible to connect to Google Drive. So the first time you'll be doing this, you're going to need to connect your Google Drive account to your Infogram account. And once you do that, you can select the file that you want to use. I think this is the one that I'm going to be using, yes. Then just select it. And now you can see that it's displayed that votes are being counted. So let me show you the file. Here it is. So I have all the municipalities here. I have their locations, and I've added information that votes are still being counted. So that's why we don't have anything visible on the map. And here in the spreadsheet, you can see that you cannot edit anything here because it's connected to a Google Drive document. So you can, of course, disconnect it, but then you won't have the live updates. And now let's say that results have come in. We can just copy this. Let's say the results are coming in by the hour, so you can then be tweaking specific cells and they would be appearing on your map. But now let me just copy and paste the entire results. And usually these updates take around 10 minutes. Well, the Infogram checks for updates every 10 minutes. So now we will not be waiting for that. We can click on reload here on the top of the spreadsheet, and then we can see that the results appear on the canvas. So if this would be an embedded project, the results would also appear, for example, on your website. So yeah, I'm sure there are some use cases you can think of that would be useful with the live data updates. Just remember that that option is available. And as I already mentioned, not only with Google Drive, but also with the option to add JSON feed and with the option to connect to one of the online databases. And as we are slowly moving towards the end of today's webinar, the next thing I want to mention is how you can add links to your maps. And before I show you how to do that, let me actually give you some examples created by our customers. So here we also have a map of the US. And as we hover over it, we can see that the states are clickable. So for example, let's click on Arizona. And as we do that, we get taken into another page where the user has provided a PDF document with additional insights on that specific state. So if we click on Florida, let's say, another document will pop out. So I guess you get it. You can add links to external pages to your maps. And here I have another example. This is not an area map, but an icon map. And here also, as you can see, as we hover over the icons, they're clickable. Let's click on Seattle, for example. And this user has actually provided links to other Infogram projects, these detailed dashboards. And yeah, you can also embed these on your website and actually provide links between different pages on your website. So just as easy as that. And another thing I want to show you is you can not only provide links to with URLs, but you can also create page links within your project. So of course this does not only work with maps. You can use those links with charts, with regular text objects, images, and whatever, but I'm just showing you examples with maps. And here we have a map of Africa, and if we click on, let's say, this northern region, we get taken to page number 6 of that presentation, where we can see additional insights on that specific region. Then we can go back and click on another region, and then we get taken into another page with some information on that specific region. So you can create these sort of interactive tables of content and make the experience a lot more interactive for your viewers. And let me just quickly show you how you can add those links yourself. It's really easy to do. So for example, let's use the first map that we created today, this map of the US. And then we just have to open the spreadsheet first. And then let's say we want to add a link to, I don't know, for example, to California. To do that, we have to right-click on a cell in the row of California in the spreadsheet. And let's right-click on it, and there you will see the option to add change link. So let's select it, and now we can add a URL link. We cannot add a link to another page because there's only one page in this project currently, but here we can add the URL link. I don't have a link prepared, so let's just use a random one. And then once you're ready, click apply. And then if we hover over California, we can see that now this is clickable, unlike any of the other states. And if we click on California, we get taken to the page that we just provided the link to. So just as easy as that. Just right-click on a cell, select Add Change Link, and that's how you can provide links. Works the same way with other objects. For example, you can just right-click on an object on the canvas, and then you will also see the option to add link and add links like that. And let me also show you how you can add the links to your page. For that, we will have to add a additional page. Let's add a link to, let's say, Colorado, for example. Let me just add an image of some mountains, for example, so that we have something on that page at least. Okay, and there we have it. And now if we go to the map spreadsheet, let's find Colorado, add change link. Now since we have several pages, we could add the link to another page. Let's select page number 2, click apply. Now we can see that Colorado is also clickable, and if we go into the full screen mode and hover over Colorado and click on it, then we get taken to that specific page. So just as easy as that. All right, and the one of the final things I wanted to touch upon is the option to add your own custom maps. For that, we can use the same project. So you will have to go to the option Add Map. But of course, let me just mention again that this option is available to our enterprise level users. Then you can choose the upload option here, and then pick a JSON, GeoJSON, KML, or TopoJSON file. So for example, I have a map of the US, a JSON file. Let's click on open, and then you can select the ID of your map, which will be used to map your data. You can select the group name, and you can select the label as well. Once you're ready, click import. It takes a while to process it. There we have it. And then you can easily use it in your projects, just as easy as that. Okay, I don't see any other questions. None of you have provided any during the webinar. Now is the time to ask away. I hope you have some questions about the things that we touched upon today. Feel free to type those in the chat. I'll be happy to answer them.